Okay, so our next session will be program partnerships for families helping families of Acadiana. And as most of you know, we have Families Helping Families centers in every region of the state. But the Families Helping Families of Acadiana submitted a proposal to be able to share the exciting things that they're doing in their office in their region. And so we're glad to have them join our conference and provide us with some valuable information. The presenters for this session will be Harlan Kauser, Nicole Dejon, and Nicole Flores. And I am not going to take up any more of their time. I'm going to turn it over to them.
Thanks, Bambi. My name is Nicole Flores. I'm the Executive Director of Families Helping Families of Acadiana. And I want to thank Bambi and the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs for letting us present today on some programs that we are proud to be involved with. As I mentioned, we're joined today. I have Harlan Kauser, II, our Adult Program Coordinator, and Nicole Dejon, our Disability Support Specialist here to present some information for everyone today. So, a little bit of our introduction. Just to let everybody know, I am the Executive Director of FHF, but I'm also a parent. And what led me to Families Helping Families of Acadiana was I needed help for my daughter who had several disabilities. And I just wanted to connect people and know how to find the resources and information I needed. So we're going to go into and cover a little bit about the Families Helping Families of Acadiana, our office, and the whole FHF network, and talk about Acadiana Parent Connections, Louisiana Youth Leadership Forum, and what's next. So it was my personal experience as a parent that led me to Families Helping Families. And I was able to get assistance from my daughter who has several disabilities. And later on, I came back on as the education liaison, and it's near and dear to my heart. And I was able to move into the role of executive director, and that's where I am today. So I'd like to introduce Harlan Kauser, our adult program coordinator, so he can share how he came to Families Helping Families.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you, Bambi, and the Governor's Office again for having us. I originally reached out to Families Helping Families in 2016. My daughter, Carly, has several disabilities related to a genetic defect, and I really needed some assistance with educational advocacy for her. I was so thrilled and impressed with the service that I received from Families Helping Families. Inspired me to set some new goals of my own. Became employed with Families Helping Families as the adult program coordinator here in Acadiana. And I also work as the disability awareness coordinator with the Mayor President's office here in Lafayette.
Thanks, Harlan. And Nicole Dejon, can you share how you came to Families Helping Families?
Sure can. My story is very similar to yours. We came into contact with Families Helping Families of Acadiana, really looking for assistance with the needs that we had. Our daughter had multiple rare conditions, and we were really just looking for other families in our area that were experiencing some of the same challenges and barriers, really looking to see what resources were in our community. And through my experience with Families Helping Families, I was able to refer a lot of families to the organization in my role as an early interventionist. Then once I left employment to stay home and take care of our child, I rolled into the role of board chair for Families Helping Families of Acadiana, and then now as an employee there as a disabilities information support specialist.
Thanks. And I do apologize. It looks like I'm having some camera issues now. And I didn't have camera issues before. And so just please bear with me. I'm going to try to work on that as we go through the slides. So a little bit of our agenda today, we came together, we do work at Families Helping Families, but we're also parents, advocates, and it's about helping people. And that's what led us to FHF. So a lot of people ask, how did it all begin? What are the Families Helping Families centers? Prior to 1988, there were no home and community-based services. And a lot of times people couldn't get the help they needed if they had developmental disabilities or children with developmental disabilities at home. So they had to go away into congregate settings, and there was no real, funding or resources. That began to change in 1988 when the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council began the Community and Family Support Movement, which led to Act 378 in 1989. As a result of Act 378, Louisiana's state-funded individual and family support programs and the medicated and home and community-based waivers were created, as well as that led to the Families Helping Families network of centers. The first FHF centers opened in 1991 and now celebrates this year 30 years of supporting individuals with disabilities and their families. A little bit about the network. There's 10 FHF resource centers across the state. We're all independent 5013C nonprofits. Each has a board of directors. And there's one center in each OCDD region. We're about promoting advocacy through empowerment, and we're family directed. The staff have disabilities and or family members with disabilities. And it's about being a one-stop shop for disability information, all disabilities and special healthcare needs. And it comes down to an unwavering belief that individuals with disabilities, they deserve a meaningful life in the community. No matter where we are in the state, our FHF centers have main programs, which include peer-to-peer support, education and training, and information, resource, and outreach. And of course, under that umbrella of advocacy. Families Helping Families of Acadiana. Each center builds its own program based on the needs of the region, but it's specific to the community they are in. So we have programs and partnerships that include our Human Service District, Bureau of Family Health, Early Steps, F2F HIC, and the Louisiana Department of Ed, Department of Revenue, and the Louisiana Children's Trust Fund. So just a little bit about us. And then I do have a visual on the screen of our region that we serve. We serve Region 4 for over 30 years, and the parishes we serve include Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, and Vermilion. So a little bit about who we are and what we do. And one thing we'd like to talk about now is one of our programs that we're excited that will be beginning soon, and that is Acadiana Parent Connections. So Nicole Dejean, I'd like to hand it over to you to kind of talk about this new program that we're going to be starting.
Sure. Nicole, can you forward to our next slide? So we are starting, as Nicole mentioned, we're starting Acadiana Parent Connections. But first, before we move forward, we want to acknowledge and thank our partners at Louisiana Children's Trust Fund for helping to make this program possible. And we wanted to tell you a little bit today about Parent to Parent. We're excited about it. And we want to spread the news and help you keep your eyes peeled, your ears peeled for what's coming next with this great program. So in our presentation today, we'll use the term parent to refer to any person or persons caring for an individual with a disability. We know that the term parent and family is fluid and dynamic. So that definition can be specific to your household. Nicole, can you move forward? So Parent to Parent is a nationwide network of parent matching program that provides high quality emotional and informational support by trained support parents to families who are seeking peer-to-peer support. It is grounded in best practices It is offered at no charge to both support and referred families, and all information that's shared within the match is considered confidential. Nicole? So Acadiana Parent Connections is our chapter under the Parent to Parent Network. Acadiana Parent Connections is the only, Louisiana's only affiliate member for the Parent to Parent Network. So we have our own mission statement for Acadiana Parent Connections. This program fits very neatly under the auspices of Families Helping Families of Acadiana, but it also has its own distinct purpose and mission. So because of that, we have our own mission statement, and that is, you can see it on the screen. Acadiana Parent Connections will engage, train, and support a local network of parent mentors and facilitate a robust matching program to ensure families of individuals with disabilities and special health care needs have access to high quality emotional support. Again, it is its own distinct program, but as we go through this, you'll see where it'll share in the resources that are so central to the mission of Families Helping Families. Nicole, can you forward? Okay. So there are three main aspects to this program. There's the match, there's the support parent, and there's the referred parent. The support parents are essentially the heart of the program. They're the individuals who volunteer their time to provide this high quality emotional support to families or parents who have reached out. And I keep saying high quality because Parent to Parent prides themselves in maintaining these high standards. There's a lot of data collection, there's a lot of analysis and reevaluation of the program to ensure that families are receiving the best quality support possible to ensure the best quality outcomes for their families. So the same applies to the training that the support parents will be receiving. So we are the staff of Families Helping Families or Acadiana Parent Connections trained by Parent to Parent USA to then train our support parents. These are individuals who feel like they would like to share in the journey with another family who's looking for that support. The training is again at no charge to support parents, and all of the resources that are needed to fulfill this role will be provided to them to ensure that again they're performing and they're providing services at the highest quality possible. And this is a volunteer position. So this is kind of one of those things you'll hear at the end of our presentation, what's next, kind of one of those things I was talking to kind of keep your eyes and ears peeled for volunteer opportunities within this program.
Yeah. And it was important we mentioned like to meet with a peer, somebody who has gone before, through the same thing that you're going through, like as parents, how we talk about our experiences. And we just want to help other parents who come behind us. And that's what Acadiana Parent Connections will help do.
Yeah, because that goes back to exactly, to our introductions, actually, mine and Nicole's and Harlan's and so many others that work with Families Helping Families. We came to the agency looking for that support. We came to the agency possibly looking for peer support. And that's a role that Families Helping Families fills. That's a gap, actually, that Families Helping Families fills. So Acadiana Parent Connections will take that gap and expand on, well, we won't expand on the game, we'll fill the gap even further in a more long-term manner. So you have your interaction with the staff at Families Helping Families. This will expand on that and take that through an 8-week process, an 8-week match, where a family contacts the program coordinator, and then this support parent will then establish a relationship with them. But we'll go on. So Nicole, can you forward to us? Slide. So this is the match process that I was talking about. So again, we have our 3 components: the match process, the support parent, and the referred parent. So this is our match. When a parent feels the need or reaches out to the program coordinator, a thorough intake interview will be conducted to determine what needs the family may have: emotional, informational, whatever it is that they're looking for. But the really cool thing about this program is the match process is guided by the referred parent or the parent calling in. So it may be a need for, and I say a need, the parent may decide that, hey, I'd like to talk to another parent whose child has the same condition that my child has, but I want to talk to a parent who has an older child. So I want to see how this journey plays out, how this manifests. It may be that the parent would like to speak to somebody who has their exact same situation. If it's a single mother, if it's a single father of a parent of a child with whatever disability it is that their child or special health care need their child may have, they can stipulate that. So the match will be based off of multiple demographics requested by the family. And that list is endless. Whatever makes the match more meaningful and more appropriate and fulfilling for that parent is the goal. So understanding that there are some limits to your pool of support parents, trained support parents, based on demographics, we know that we're going to be limited with, okay, especially maybe a request for a match, a parent that may have a child with maybe a rare condition or, you know, a much more unique situation. As an affiliate member of Parent to Parent USA, we have access to the nationwide network. So if we say, okay, we've received all of your requests and we've looked through our database of support parents and we can't find a match locally, we can then tap into the network nationwide and send it out in the group's IO and say, hey, look, we have a family here in Louisiana looking for these particular stipulations. And so we have access to that. So it expands our network and our capabilities of making an appropriate and meaningful match.
Which is perfect right now as we're just getting started. We haven't had that initial training for volunteer parents. So we won't have that pool, a large pool of volunteer trained parents for a little bit. So once we start the program, if someone reaches out to us and we don't have those volunteer parents available, that national parent to parent affiliation is going to be key.
Absolutely. And there's going to be some ebb and flow in our pool of support parents, because as we go through things as families, as parents, we may feel more capable or less capable of providing that emotional support to another family. And that's going to be key. And that's an element there's a lot of checks and balances in this program that allow for that good quality experience, not only for the referred family, but the support parent as well. So the program coordinator will check in with both parties to ensure that the match is a good experience for both. Because just because on paper everybody checks the right boxes, it may not be a good match, and that's okay. Again, that's where those checks and balances come into play, and we can reevaluate and make sure that everybody has this great, fulfilling experience. Okay, thank you, Nicole. How is this program unique? We've kind of discussed that, but the one element that we haven't discussed is the ability for referred parents to determine the mode of communication or method of communication. So just like they can determine and request the demographics of the match, they can also request the mode of communication. So we know as parents of individuals with disabilities and just life, our schedules are tight, communication can be difficult, and it's a very emotional thing. Really discussing some of the challenges of this. So some people are more comfortable communicating through text or email, and they can dictate that. The referred family can determine and dictate the mode of communication. So they may say, I can text you from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. on Mondays. And that schedule is set by them. By doing this and allowing this in the program, it diminishes the barriers for support, because we know that when we've got support groups, we've got counseling, we've got all these kind of scheduled activities outside the house, the accessibility decreases, and the ability to, secure childcare for those things and transportation and all of that. All of those barriers are removed when we start opening up the different types of communication, different schedules. Now, both parties must agree on that, the time and the mode of communication, but it's an effort towards making this more accessible to both parties, but particularly the referred parent. So Nicole?
So a little bit about our projected timeline. Like we had mentioned before, we're in the beginning stages. Right now, the first quarter of the fiscal year, we're talking about the program and just sharing some information. As we go through, we'll have, as we've garnered interest and get people who want to be volunteer support parents, we'll have volunteer support training. We'll continue outreach throughout the year to share information about it. We'll hold additional volunteer parent trainings. And at the end of the fiscal year, additional outreach. How did it go? Recap how we did, what we could do better the next year, reporting the information back, and then preparing for year 2. So we kind of talked about, we're about to get started. This is where we're at, our projected timeline for this next year.
And just to summarize, this program is very simple, but very profound. So we've got a family who may be, seeking support, emotional support. They contact the program coordinator. The program coordinator then conducts a compassionate, thorough intake interview to determine what the needs are. The referred family determines what it is they're looking for. This is their opportunity to advocate for themselves. The match, the program coordinator then reviews our database or our pool of support parents and makes a match. So the expectation and the best practice is that the match is made within 48 hours of contact with the referred family. The support parent will then contact the referred parent. They will initiate, so the support parent is to initiate 4 contacts with the family with over an 8-week period. Now, certainly they can have more contact if they both agree, if the need is there. But then at the end of the 8 weeks, there is, and again, there's that contact with the program coordinator with both parties during the match to ensure that it's an effective and meaningful, fulfilling match for both parties. At the end, again, the program coordinator will contact both parties again to kind of do a review, analysis of how the experience was for both parties. So that's kind of a summary of how parent-to-parent and Acadiana Parent Connections works.
So what we'll do now is, that's our program that we're starting now and, starting to ramp up. So our next item that we would like to share is one that we are excited that we are proud to be one of the partners with, that we're supporting, is the Louisiana Youth Leadership Forum 2023. So on the screen, you can see we changed the slide up a little bit. Our colors are a lot more exciting and vibrant, because this is something that, as members of the DDC Ad Hoc Committee, we have been very excited to learn about and see how we can help bring this back to Louisiana. Just a little disclaimer as we go through. Families Helping Families of Acadiana is only one of many organizations that's helping to bring the Youth Leadership Forum to the youth of Louisiana. We are members, the 3 of us are members of the DDC Youth Leadership Forum Ad Hoc Committee. So we're presenting this information. It's a life-changing opportunity, because we want the disability community of Louisiana to be just as excited and anxiously awaiting it, just like we are. So the information that we're presenting today is accurate today, but YLF is, evolving, so it'll be changing. So everything we're talking about could change as we continue the planning process. So what exactly is a youth leadership forum, Nicole?
Yeah, so a youth leadership forum is probably one of the most exciting things. It's a summer camp for kids, not kids. Let me take that, for young adults with disabilities, to learn leadership skills and self-advocacy skills. But the idea really is that they're already leaders, not that they're developing leaders, but that they're honing their leadership skills, to live a life of independence in however they choose, if they're choosing in their chosen community. But one of the really cool things about the Youth Leadership Forum is that there is a promotion of disability culture and community within the setting here, and that they bring that, that everyone brings that out into their chosen community once they leave. I don't know that I did that justice, but.
No, I'm bringing that back. That's what the Youth Leadership Forum is. So we've been on the ad hoc committee, and we came up with, the members of the ad hoc committee, the Louisiana YLF mission statement, which is on the screen. The Louisiana YLF will teach personal and system advocacy skills, promote disability culture through networking with other self-advocates, and empower young people with disabilities. So that's our mission, and that is where we're hoping to lead with Louisiana YLF. So getting into, you have the National Association of Youth Leadership Forums, and that's where this program comes from, and that's where the goals and the principles we're looking at come from. So they have the association information about developing leadership plans, academic and career goals, and helping these delegates, be able to develop work ethics and understand that work is not only a right, but a way to reach your full potential, and to work on a plan to continue to more complete independence through technology, community support, peer mentoring, civil rights. Those are the overreaching goals of the Association of YLF.
And I think it's important, Nicole, to point out that in the third goal, where it talks about work ethics and a belief that work is not only a right, but also a social obligation. The pretty amazing thing about YLF is these expectations of high standards, that it's not just about you, it's about, your community as well, and your role in the community. And that's what I was saying. There's this understanding and this acceptance and promotion of disability culture and community, and not only within YLF, but bringing that back home and promoting that within their chosen community. And I also think it's important to notice that Louisiana's YLF is part of a national association of YLFs across the country. So Louisiana will be, I think, 33rd in line. There are 32 YLFs currently running across the country. So this isn't just something that's just the sole creation of, a bunch of really cool people in Louisiana. We are, even though, it's evolving, but no, there are standards and there are goals and there are obligations that we have to the National Association to maintain the best practices and, again, high standards set by the association.
And this is a good segue into kind of the key principles of YLF. So Nicole, if you kind of cover some of those, I know there's a lot of them, but.
Yeah, they have, if you look on the website, you'll find that there are 12 key principles of YLF. And really, it's about promotion of diversity across the board, diversity and disability. They adhere to the ADA definition of disability. So this isn't just strictly for individuals with developmental disabilities. And by doing so, they promote this diversity of disability. So you want to encourage acceptance of delegates or attendees that have a broad spectrum of disability, gender. You want to be you want your YLF to be representative of the ethnicity of the region or state in which it's hosted. There's also a stipulation in there, which I think is pretty amazing and very, very powerful, that all of the presenters and role models that are there or that are hired or there to present the sessions to the delegates and attendees also are individuals with disabilities, and not just individuals with disabilities, but individuals that represent a broad spectrum of disability. So your attendees, your leaders, your students are learning from individuals that are living their best life, their chosen life, and can speak from that firsthand lived experience. But really the key principles are to promote that disability community, that diversity, culture, and pride. There's also principles that state, obviously wherever it's hosted, that it's fully accessible to every attendee.
And Harlan, we were talking about, it's also a natural segue going through a youth leadership forum into partners. And then Harlan, we were talking earlier, about this is an advocacy kind of leadership for transition age youth, but it dovetails with partners and Camp Able. If you could speak to that.
Sure, absolutely. The Youth Leadership Forum is unique in that it will offer attendees the opportunity to continue on in advocacy through partners in policy making or other potential leadership conferences and things like that that will help them in their independent and professional careers to live their best life. Recently, as you'll hear more about today in the 3:30 to 4:30 session, the Affiliated Blind of Louisiana and a new nonprofit called Blind Grace held their first ever Camp Able, which is another summer camp for transitional youth who are blind and visually impaired. It helped them to learn some skills of self-advocacy and helped them to learn some transitional skills such as interviewing and resume writing and things like that. We are with the organizations that operate this program and other programs, and we hope to link these programs together in a way that allow each program to draw attendees from the other, so that as we grow over the years, we can continue to build this advocacy network statewide, starting with the youth and continuing on through adulthood.
And that's one thing we always say, we're trying to build those bridges, as we're breaking down those silos. So those are the key principles. So we talked about the certain things that are required because it's a national program. So we have these training components at the national level there's 5 main categories: principles of leadership, the experience of disability, this is on your screen as well, technology and resources to reach my goals, living on my own and reaching my career goals, and leading in my community. And Nicole, you were going to share some information about the other YLFs that they've had and how they have presented this kind of information, in these 5 topics.
Yeah, so each state runs their YLF as they see fit according to these principles. So there may be a need for certain types of advocacy training or education in certain areas versus others. I think it's all tailored to where the resources in their state. What's the desire from the community in their state? But just this summer, my daughter Lillian and I had the opportunity to work as staff at the Oklahoma Youth Leadership Forum, and they're in their 19th year. So they've had an opportunity, they've had plenty of years to work out the kinks. But the way that they bring these goals and these, these things to life, these components to life, is through session. So again, we go back to those requirements that we have leaders, role models, mentors that are individuals with disabilities leading these sessions and discussing their firsthand experiences, but also empowering and teaching the young adults how this may look in their own life. So for instance, living on my own and reaching my career goals, there are sessions that are designed to put them through activities that make them, put them in that scenario. So it's again with high expectations that you can set a goal, but you have to determine your steps in order to get to that goal. And everyone's goals are different. Everyone's steps will be different. They're all individualized, but these components are broad enough and applicable enough to everyone, and they're able to tailor them for their specific situation. And we keep saying, the three of us keep saying their best life. That's a theme that runs through YLF, my best life. Not my life as dictated by my school counselor, not my best life as dictated by my parents, not my best life as dictated by the barriers that have been and challenges that have been determined in all the plans that have guided my life. This is their opportunity to really think about their life from their very own perspective, on their own, with high standards and the support there to allow them to achieve these goals past YLF. This isn't a summer camp, you learn this stuff and you learn and dump. This is to empower and to equip these young adults with the skills and thoughts that I can set these really high expectations and these high standards, and this is how I get there. So there are games, there are sessions, all of these things bring this to life.
So those are the national ones. And just a little history of Louisiana's YLF. We actually did have a Louisiana Youth Leadership Forum from 2000 to 2005, and it was on LSU's campus. They had about 30 delegates a year. And there was a variety of funding provided by DDC, FHF of Jefferson, GOTA, OCDD, the Human Development Center. They had additional support from the ARC, LDOE, University of New Orleans, and monitoring was provided by a steering committee that most likely functioned under GOTA. The Louisiana YLF ended due to Hurricane Katrina, and there were funding changes under the Jindal administration. An attempt was made to restart it in 2008 per the DDC minutes, but it didn't come back up until about 2017 or 2018, when we were actually having some conversation and saying, whatever happened to this? This is a great idea. And we were talking about how they have programs like Partners in Policymaking for, adults and, self-advocates and older parents. But what do they have for younger people who might need help to get to the point where they can become the leaders in their community and make that segue? And we found the historical information, and that's when we started looking into it, which led to this being brought to the DDC and the creation of the ad hoc committee. So that's a little bit of the history.
And Nicole, if I can add to that,
Sure.
When we went to Oklahoma, we were able to, like I said, we worked as staff, but what was really pretty amazing was 50% of their staff were individuals that did not have disabilities, but 50% of the staff were alumni. So they were young adults who had already been through the YLF. And out of those alumni, most of them had attended their Partners in Policy Making program. And then beyond that, 2 of the individuals had gone on and currently serve on their Developmental Disabilities Council. So you've got this kind of pipeline. But then outside of that, we got to listen to the leadership opportunities that these young adults sought out in their community. But, and again, it's just the scope of this, the more conversations we had, the more we realized that the scope is just huge. And so, but the cool thing is the alumni come back and mentor the young adults, and they get to encourage them and, talk about, hey, since I've been in YLF, this is what I've done, with my life. This is what I chose to do. So there's this huge footprint that this program has, not only in their individual life, but in their community as well.
To go back and talk a little bit about where we were talking about the topics, the different sessions of things that would be presented. And an important thing is that the presenters must be self-advocates, people with disabilities. So we're helping, the ad hoc committee is helping to bring us together, but it's the presenters, it's going to be the delegates, those are the ones that it's important and this is for. We're just here to help. So here are some of the proposed topics, your good life, disability history and culture. And there was one session, the YLF session, Nicole. Could you share that one?
Yeah, so that was pretty fun. So we got to, it's like life size, or like, it's Monopoly brought to life, essentially. So every delegate begins the game or the activity with $5,000 YLF. And there are booths around the room that represent life choices. So, or, major life choices. So they had housing, transportation, employment, they had casino, payday loan. So there was good choices and bad choices. And you were free to do with your money as you pleased. Just like in life, you can make good choices and you can make bad choices, but there are consequences to that. And at these different booths, they were able to discuss their options, like what kind of housing can I really afford? And I do have to say most of the delegates chose to live with their mom, but it's the most affordable option for everyone. But rehab services was there, employment services, voting. There was a voting registration booth. So they got to really see, okay, what does adulthood look like? What does it look like on my own? What can I choose? I can make bad choices and I can make good choices, but it puts them through the paces of what kind of decisions they're going to have to make to reach the goals that they've determined are their best life. So they also had, Mayhem there, who, walked around the room and handed out just life, right? So like there were things like some people ended up with twins, some people ended up, with tons of debt, with payday loans. So what do you do with that? How do you navigate those choices? And how do you, again, stay the course and achieve your best life? So that was probably one of the funnest, if not the most overwhelming activities that was there. But it gave an incredible opportunity for this very rich kind of after action discussion where we could talk about, gosh, I didn't think about all that. I'm an adult, I've got a job now, and they all came in, I want to live in my own, I want to live in an apartment. So then when they started looking at some of these choices, it's like, okay, maybe I have to pace myself. How do I get there? But then it allows for that chance to really kind of say, I can do this.
So going on to another exciting slide. The Louisiana Youth Leadership Forum is anticipated to be hosted July 2023 on the University of Louisiana at Lafayette campus. So like we mentioned, all these things we're talking about are coming out of the Youth Leadership Ad Hoc Committee. So these things are, subject to change, but at this time, this is what we have right now. So just to give you a little idea, just go to the members of the YLF Ad Hoc Committee. You can see the slide on your screen under the auspices of the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council. You have the chair, Lillian Deschamps, and then you have DD council members, you have non-council members, and you have our youth members, which are the most important. That was something that is important, and you'll notice there's always space for more people on the ad hoc committee because it is those youth that are going to be most important. What they're providing, the information, the feedback, and how it can be most valuable for those peers that might be able to attend the forum.
Their ideas are some of the most relevant and compelling, I have to say.
Absolutely.
So some of the current and anticipated partners and funders. Right now, the current funder is the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council. Some anticipated funders were listed as Louisiana Rehab Services, Louisiana Department of Education. A partner is the University of Louisiana at Lafayette, the ULF program. So there's our committee. There is, anticipated funders. And again, going back to some of the people that have helped us, the organizations too, we want to give a huge shout out and thanks to the Oklahoma DDC and YLF. Nicole?
Yeah, they've been, the staff at the Developmental Disabilities Council in Oklahoma and their Youth Leadership Forum have been incredibly forthcoming with their intellectual property, their printed materials, and their willingness to offer any guidance and support. And that's why we had the opportunity to work as staff. We were the only two individuals that were not from Oklahoma that were there as staff or in attendance at all. That were not from there, that, you know, from out of the state. And it was solely to help us learn how, you know, how this ran and what this looked like in real life. So again, a huge thank you to them.
So a lot of information covered. So what is next? For Acadiana Parent Connections, we'll be doing additional marketing and outreach, and be on the lookout for more information. For the Youth Leadership Forum, the ad hoc committee, our next meeting is on August, I believe it's August 4th from 1 to 3, and that would be on the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council site. That'll be published there. But I just am very excited at this potential partnerships, things we're supporting, and being able to present today. So Harlan, what would you like to add? Or
Like to say, you know, we are really about these programs because we do a lot of work to assist people with disabilities, but we don't often get the opportunity to really work on positive outreaching programs like these that have the potential for such an impact on the disability community. And we're really excited. It's been a lot of fun, and we really hope that hearing about it has helped to get some of you guys all excited about it too. And we would love any support or ideas or participation we could get from the disability community and from youth with disabilities in particular.
Nicole?
I agree with what Harlan said. Both of these programs are about positive outcomes. You know, parent to parent, Acadiana Parent Connections is about positive outcomes for the entire family. If we've got healthy parents, we've got healthy children, you know, the health of the family as a whole. And everyone involved with that program benefits. And then, of course, the Youth Leadership Forum is just nothing but excitement and positivity and fun. So, and promoting that disability culture and pride in our young adults and cultivating that next generation of self-advocates. So it's all exciting.
I just want to, Bambi, the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs, want to thank you. This has been exciting. We're really excited to present this information. I didn't know. Let me see.
Thank you guys. We actually have a few questions and answers. If y'all would, I'm sorry, questions. If you guys would entertain those.
Sure.
Okay. Well, first off, Lynette Fontenot said congratulations. That was regarding the parent-to-parent program that you guys will be starting soon. And she also said that she would like to help in regards to YLF, which it's always great to have Lynette help with anything. So she's wonderful. So thank you.
We will love to have her.
And then Kelly Monroe said, asked a question, has anyone reached out to people first? I know that they would be willing to help in any way.
We can definitely bring that up at the next meeting for sure.
And I think it may have been mentioned at the ad hoc committee when we were talking about all the different organizations, and then maybe just hadn't gotten to that point yet, as we hadn't gotten to the topics and speakers. But yeah, definitely.
And then we have from Hilda, how can you get involved, and let me know how we can help.
Definitely.
And so again, Miss Hilda is always someone you want to be helping if you have
Exactly.
I think in regards to that, in regards to the YLF, as you said earlier, Nicole, the information in regards to meetings is on the Louisiana Developmental Disabilities Council website under meetings. I don't know if the next meeting has been posted yet, but I think it will be posted
Yeah, I think
probably this week.
Lily just put the next meeting date and time in the chat. It's on the August 4th from 1 to 3 at the DD Council.
Yeah.
And they're also going to be, they'll also live stream it on YouTube.
Mhm.
So yeah, there'll definitely be volunteer opportunities as we move closer to the date, and for, you know, I guess different events and things that are going to be posted at the YLF
Mhm.
for volunteering.
Thanks again, Bambi. I don't think we had any other questions.
But thank you guys. Thank you for the great presentation, some exciting programs that are coming up, and just really appreciate you guys sharing that with our conference attendees. And I also just want to take the opportunity, which I have not done so yet today, but since we have just a few minutes left, just to thank the GOTA staff for all the sessions you'll hear in this conference this week has come to be because of their many hours of work and communicating with our presenters. And so just wanted to acknowledge Jordan Briscoe, Alicia Vaillant, Lillian Dejean, and William Romero. And so I will make a conscious effort to recognize them every day, even though I would get laser focused on moving on to our next task. But I really appreciate this would not happen without them. And also to all of our presenters who are sharing their time, talent, and expertise and are not being paid in any way from us to be presenters, but they are volunteering to make this a really great conference again this year. And with that being said, our next session starts at 2 o'clock. And so we'll see you all back at that time.
Thank you, Bambi.
Thank you.